Just answering questions of waptek. Apparently, it's that time of the week again. That's right, grammar Nazis, quantum grammar Nazis. So here we get to the assertions. There's a set of assertions that have been proffered by people who claim to know secret knowledge about how the U.S. government and everything works. Now, this sounds, on the face of it, pretty useful. Obviously, if you're in the know, that's great. And this is a tee-hee, I have a secret kind of thing. The part that goes off the rails if people look at a law that's written directly in front of you, printed right there, and reinterpret it by changing the definition of the words in a way that doesn't match up with anybody else's definition. This basically means they're creating their own separate language so that they can always be right when they have an argument in court. This doesn't really work. If a word or a phrase in the law is ambiguous or subject to interpretation, this is where this idea comes from. But when it's not ambiguous and you need it to be ambiguous so you can keep a court case going so you don't ever lose, that's when you get the quantum grammar Nazis. These people claim to have a superior knowledge of the law, and when it breaks down to the point that they're not acknowledging what the law is, they invoke things like, well, this is based on something from literally 400 years ago that I'm going to cite in Latin and badly translate, which has nothing to do with the situation. Or they'll go back to the Magna Carta, for fuck's sake. Or they'll just ignore that the law you're talking about was passed by we the people recently or by our representatives that are lawmakers in the United States. And when they find out that is something they cannot argue because there's clear records for it in history, it's last week, literally, in some cases, then they just say, no one's allowed to make a law in the United States until I say it's okay. Basically disenfranchising everybody in the country and saying, trust me. Now, this is me saying the nicest thing I can about this. This is appealing to people. They like the idea of being able to do a hack of the system. But here we go. I said a bunch of things in a video where I explain things to people, and people don't like that because it implies strongly that you would have to literally get off your dead ass. This person says, waptek, you said if you or we don't like it, change the law. And then he says, the person we're talking about, Russell J. Gould, or any of the other pantheon of nearly deity-like people who are supposed to be fighting the system, fighting the conditioning. He was trying to change the law. No, he was trying to win a court case just for himself and found out that he could make money by selling you the same failed methods he failed to work with by lying about the outcome of his court case, which is not against the law. You can lie about the outcome of a court case. Nobody cares. But he sold everybody on the idea that he was able to bamboozle a court system, and you all know he was really just saying that, by bringing up or invoking all sorts of bullshit like changing the definitions for words or just yelling at the judge, you're not valid anymore. He wasn't trying to change the law. If he was trying to change the law, he would get everybody together and vote for a law that says you can't do these things. You can abolish the sales tax or the income tax in your state. You can. The government isn't going to want it, but you can literally take away their ability to make any of you pay them money at all. You can do this. It's only been done a couple of times, but it can be done. You can represent yourselves, tell your representatives, we're not letting you represent us. We're going to abolish income tax and sales tax if we want to. The reason I'm saying that is you can do that. Even though that would completely defund your government, it would strangle them to the point that they would effectively be dead. You would eviscerate them or emasculate them, depending on what you're talking about. People are abused by the law. Yes, I agree. We've experienced this sort of thing recently. A few of us, anyway. But again, Russell J. Gould and the people like him, and David Wynn, they weren't trying to help improve the issues, as you claim. They were trying to win a court case and lost the court case. Well, you win some, you lose some. They've never won any of them. The only time they've ever won a case is when people decided to drop the case because they got tired of being nagged. And when this was seen as emboldening them, this is the reason a court will never stop prosecuting you if you act like you're crowing and strutting about. They will keep punishing you for trying to make it look like they lost a court case. It's become personal, and because they can get away with it. If anything, Wynn and Gould have made it worse for us. Waptek is obsessed with his face, sees all his video uploads and grins. This face? Wow. This person's posting because they couldn't win an argument. They can't argue the logic here. Again, if you don't like the law, change the fucking law. And these guys, in case you didn't notice, Russell J. Gould and David Wynn did not change any laws. You being lied to, well, we secretly got an agreement and you can use this, but only people who are in the know. That means certain special people get to have the law a certain way? That's not the law. That's cronyism. Fuck you. That isn't real. And also, it didn't work. Selling stock isn't debt. As a matter of fact, it is. You're selling someone a promise that you'll pay them back later if they give you money now. That is literally the definition of debt. Every U.S. corporation would be in bankruptcy, liquidation, if they sold stock as debt. No. Liquidation or bankruptcy is when you can't pay back the debt. The presumption is they can. Or they put a time limit on it where you have to wait 5 years to... That's literally what it says on the fucking documentation if you have a physical piece of paper. Read something. No, you first. You didn't read your freaking information. Next one. That group of people you're referring to didn't say the USA went bankrupt on a certain day. It said it was over in 2000 something something or 19 something something. The U.S. government didn't go bankrupt because none of you provide proof that they went bankrupt, or who to, referring to the previous comment. Who were they owing money to, and when was this decision publicly visible? If some country claims that they're foreclosing, or some idiot, yeah, this has happened, conspiracy theorist, claims they're foreclosing on the U.S. government, what fucking force of law does that have or effect? None. This is a claim based on a long time ago us switching away from the gold standard being seen as us going bankrupt. That's a euphemistic statement that was taken seriously by some idiots. No, the U.S. government did not go bankrupt. That's it. It's not a discussion anymore. We're not having this discussion. You're saying, well, what about, or yeah, but, or saying, well, they got the date wrong. That's not true. Or another one, no, that's when the process was ended. No, it never happened or started. You're lying about something. This is the gadfly attack we're having today. Russell J. Gould has been granted authority by the highest authority under Father God Almighty, Jesus Christ, King of all kings, Christ. So basically, we have to join your religious cult to be able to have financial windfalls. The golden calf joke, right? Again, separation of church and state. Your religion isn't the government. Your religion doesn't have more authority. God does not have authority over me. You can't yell the word God while you're beating me to death with a hammer and keep me from defending myself by hitting you with it again, your own hammer. Not just euphemistically. Claiming over and over again, we've won a religious or spiritual victory, doesn't change the fact that both of these assholes lost court case after court case after court case. They were declared not legally permitted to represent themselves in court because they're incompetent as lawyers. And again, this doesn't sound like I'm championing, the government here. They didn't have any effect. They didn't change anything. And then the person says, yes, I am rightful heir of Napoleon Bonaparte, gentle Jesus, Christ came in Rome and earth. Why Napoleon? My half-brother is part Jewish, Masonic king Israel, born completely in line with the revelation, Virgo woman, etc. And I'm supposed to listen to this and take this seriously. Next one. Mother of Jesus Christ appeared in the 1980s, whose mother also gave birth to the part Jewish, Masonic Jesus Christ king Israel, born during the revelation, Virgo again. And another one, Jesus Christ king, yada, yada, yada. On and on. I'm supposed to take you even a little bit seriously. Two eagles, worldwide earth, blah, 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 blah. Then the person gets a little bit angry because this isn't working. And he calls Jupiter, and a bunch of stuff. And this isn't really even an outlandish version of this shit. In this person's case, they're invoking the rule that if you're not a believer in their religion, which precludes logic, which precludes discussing reality subjects. It all has to be about Bibles. Or their assertion that everybody knows it. Literally stuff nobody's ever heard of until they may have seen your comment in the comment section or watched this video. Okay. And you're saying you are the king. Elvis never did no drugs. Next, let's get to the next one. Now this person's elevating themselves to godhood or whatever. Now we get to the direct response to me that was actually earlier, but I wanted you to see how far off the rails this got. Let's review. Selling stock is a form of creating debt to be able to get capital. You're borrowing from people. That's what it's based on, and doing that doesn't cause you to go into bankruptcy. The amount you owe doesn't mean you're bankrupt. The amount you owe and can't pay back would cause it. And yes, some companies have actually declared bankruptcy because they can't pay off their loan they got by selling stock. But stock is excluded from being declared a direct debt. It's considered a promise to pay back. And yeah, I said if you don't like the law, change it. And Russell J. Gould and David Wynn did not change any laws, except to cause you to be even more restricted, because they kept trying to abuse the system, trying to not hack it, but just get away with shit. And here we have the original prima donna posting here. Okay, when we watch waptek, besides saying, it's about me trying to see myself on camera or whatever, we have an expert here in grammar with a high IQ with emphasis on literary skill. No, I'm not an expert in any of these things. Russell J. Gould and the other idiot have created a fake version of grammar, the literal structure and the way we communicate, and fake definitions for words that have nothing to do with their definitions, or using the wrong definition for words that can have more than one meaning, to try to win court cases by gumming up the works, by creating long drawn-out conversations or arguments, just like the shit we just dealt with. We just wasted 11 minutes of our lives together, group therapy style, with some psychopath who says that he's literally the son of Jesus and Mary and God and aliens and whatever. And here we go with the first or last statement the person made, because there's a bunch of edits here. waptek, tell us what you know is accurate or not. We will have it reviewed. So you're going to be the judge, jury, and executioner after all this shit of whether or not I'm saying something you will choose to say is correct. Again, you elevate yourself to being part of a group of people. We absolved ourselves. It wasn't just a Tea Party to get rid of Britain at one time. It was to get rid of the rule of law brought to them by saying that they were ordained by God to be ruling the planet. They're not. They're just people. They're not sovereigns. When you hear a sovereign citizen, think delusions of grandeur. They always invoke some damn thing to avoid logic. The United States has a set of laws that are not necessarily agreed upon by everybody, but are tolerated by everybody. And if you don't like them, you change them by saying, we don't tolerate them. Just because you can't do it, because you can't get a bunch of people to agree with you, isn't my fault. Invoking this kind of shit will scare away 90% of the people who might support you. If you're really this batshit insane, I don't want to listen to your opinion. You might have a good idea, but you're really shitty at presenting it, because you wrap it up in a bag of crazy. We will have it reviewed and tell you the final truth about it. So you're going to be the arbiters of truth, but you tell people to decide for themselves and think for themselves. But we have to bow down to you because you claim to be literally the son of Jesus of God. A lot of innocent people are in prisons. I know that. And we can make laws that take it to where innocent people are removed from prison. Or when we get rid of laws, anybody who's convicted of it can be removed. You can make these changes, but you can't do it by screaming crazy shit like this and expecting any of us to listen to you. You want to perpetually be a pariah in your own community so you can get more attention. This isn't accomplishing anything. This is delusions of self-aggrandization and a delusion of grandeur. Even have transcripts of judges saying they were wrongfully arrested. Yes, and we have lots of occurrences where they've been released. We have to have the laws change. Look at Julian Assange. I did. He shouldn't be harassed anymore. Another innocent stuck in a man-eater-run prison. These courts you're talking about are being gummed up. Are you talking about the pedophile courts? And then he says, at me. You're exposed Satanist. We are in charge now. Get used to it. And that's the ultimate answer. Without consent, these individuals wish to rule while they talk crazy shit. You are the best example of why none of us should tolerate you. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that, you abusive.